I'm Heidi. I'm from Estonia. As already have been expressed, that the movement started also from Estonia. And I'm serving this organization already like 7 years, mainly as a head of the global network. But also during a few years, I'm serving this organization also as a president of the Let's Do It World. And of course, I will start from this kind of sorrow and also with their pain in heart to say in what condition our planet and our Earth today is. And this is the main thing and main topic why we have been gathered today to this webinar, but also why the Let's Do It World is existing and why we are doing World Cleanup Day. Sometimes the why is the most important thing in life. And when we know that we want to change the world and our mutual home into so much better place, which is green, which is waste-free, which is healthy, then this is the main aim why we are working and why we do have this huge movement around the world. We want to make the change happen in our homes. I'm also expressing what is the waste facts today in the world, so we understand what is the situation currently. And I know that we are translating as well, so it enables to translate easily all these waste facts. For example, we are producing more than 2 billion tons of residual waste annually. And you can see also the source where we have these numbers. It came from the World Bank. Or we can say that approximately 40% of our people who are living in the earth doesn't have access to the waste management systems. And if you think and consider that the 60% and in the future 70% of our people living in the planet will be living in the huge towns and mega cities, then 30% from these towns, very huge towns, are slums or favelas, where it's really hard to manage the waste because of their logistics and infrastructure, which is lacking those in those areas. And we all know that all the plastics and all their waste, which is produced by their humans, sometimes doesn't end up in proper ways of waste management inside waste management systems. And usually people use the rivers like a natural way to get rid of the contaminated waste and so on. So it's ending up eventually in the oceans. So we can say that by 2050 there is more plastic that's a fish in the oceans. And this source is coming from United Nations. Also, 1.6 billion tons of CO2 equivalent greenhouse gas emissions were generated from solid waste management in 2016. Maybe you know also that the Let's Do It World is not doing just the World Cleanup Day, but also holding different kind of campaigns. And one of the campaigns what we are holding in worldwide level is a cigarette butts campaign. So 4.5 trillion cigarette butts end up in nature. It's basically like 90%, approximately 90% of all produced cigarettes are ending up in the nature. And people doesn't know that the cigarette butt itself consisting a lot of chemicals, and actually it is consisting a lot of plastic. And all this waste, which is surrounded by us, produced by the people, it does have really huge impact to the environments and different kinds of species, if you talk about animals and if you talk about flora and fauna. So it is a calculation that up to 100,000 species distinct every year. It is 1 from 6 is under threat. Also, we can say that there are a lot of microplastics, even in the salt. And there is a calculation that 90% of salt contains microplastics. And it's also, we can say that as we are eating, we might be eating 1 credit card per week or 1 credit card size plastic per week. And these faced facts actually are coming, bring us to the next level to understand that people who are living in the world are trash blinded. They cannot see or understand how much waste they're producing, how much we are actually consuming, and how we are living in this planet. So Let's Do It World invented also this kind of name, which is trash blindness, where we can say that many people don't even see the litter around them and do not understand how it impacts them in their communities and also in the environment. And in this way, people doesn't see the urge to need to take the action. And we have been witnessed also that the people think usually that maybe somebody else can take this problem and solve the problem. And I think this is the biggest threat in our planet. If we are thinking that it's somebody else's problem, but it is actually everybody's problem. And we all have to tackle this huge problem in the world. And I have been witness also that people are saying, but if I'm doing something, it does have so small impact. I cannot see the impact right away. And so it doesn't make any difference if I'm acting. But if we are thinking that everything starts from ourselves, if we are making the change happen, then our neighbors are doing it, our family is doing it, our friends are doing it, our community is doing it. Eventually, if everybody doing it this way, we have the change. So big changes in the world will start from small things. So this is a huge problem in the world. And we had also the problem, of course, in Estonia many years back in 2008 when we started this movement. Actually, we didn't start this movement yet because we didn't know that it will be a movement eventually. But we saw a lot of waste around us in 2008, also in Estonia. And there was a question for us, how to make the change happen, or how to raise awareness of the people so they are not wasting, not consuming so much, or how we can make this kind of sustainable change in the way that we can work on sustainable waste management, not create a lasting change. And then we had really great idea that we have to have the cleanup in Estonia in 2008. And one big visionary said that we can have a cleanup the Estonia all with our communities, with our people, with our nation. But another visionary said that, yes, we can do it, but let's work on that, and do it in just one day. And it was absolutely crazy idea in 2008 to understand that we want to clean up all the Estonia with all our people in just one single day. And we understood that in order to have the change, the lasting change in society, we have to gather minimum 5% of our population. Why we talk about the 5% is because it is scientific break point where when we do have enough engagement in society, disputes on the topics, and it starts to spread into among the stakeholders, and from that point, it's making a lasting change. So the 5% is really important. With all the knowledge, what I have been working in Let's Do It World and also with our leaders and witness many cleanups, I understand that a change, if we want to make something change in the world, then we have to take that action. And we understand that the adult people or any kind of humans rarely are learning something or changing something just by reading. No, we have to go to the action. And from this action, by being in the process, we understand something which is much bigger than us. We understand the purpose and we understand the why. Also, what is the waste? Why I'm doing the cleanup? And what is the purpose of all of that? So this point is really important. And this point you can reach only when you go to the action itself. And this kind of activity will catalyze a social change. I heard that you also talked about the Estonian movement, how it started. So I put here one slide about that as well. So everything, as I said, starts from a utopical idea. And the utopical idea was in 2008, when we had our first cleanup in one day to clean up all Estonia with all our nation. So it was basically one person with one idea, which has a lot of followers. At that moment, the preparation time to have this one day cleanup in one country, the preparation time was 6 months. And the best experts of Estonia worked on idea to have one day cleanup. You see, it's a really big marketing campaign. How to reach all the population through the understanding what will happening in big cleanup day in 2008, 3rd of May. Where to go, how many partners you need, how many resources do you need? And there are a lot of things we're about to consider. So in the end of all these preparations, which was 6 months, there were more than 560 different kind of partners who were offering pro bono all the services in order to collect the people, to put to the buses, to have the oil, to have the water, gloves, bags, instructions, all of this together with all more than 600 different kind of partners. We were enabled to collect more than 50,000 participants in Estonia, which is basically 5% of our population in Estonia. After that, we had many cleanups in the same time. We do have it each time like a spring cleanup in Estonia. And I have to say that by being part of the first cleanup in Estonia in 2008, I was not part of the Let's Do It world, but I was working in public sector as a human resource manager, and with all woe of our organization and the friends, we come to the cleanup, and it changed me forever. Only one cleanup. And that's why I know how important is engagement and understanding of the purpose, why, and how I'm doing it. Our national president was an ambassador of all this day. We had a lot of well-known people like writers, poets, musicians, sportsmen, who were like an ambassadors of that day. And I remember opening the radio, opening the TV. There was no single day where you didn't saw an invitation to that huge event. And one of the key messages were that people stood up like one person, understood the purpose that I need to clean up my country, understood the purpose that it will be heritage to our future, understood that it will be each year repeating. We had also opinion festivals after that, when we gathered the people to work on green solutions, and it was also working out really well. And from that point, Estonia changed drastically, and we don't have so much waste anymore, of course. And I really can see the people who are throwing their waste, for example, in the streets or in the forest. And second really important thing with this one day event is that we spared from our governments a lot of preparations time. If the government might be doing the same amount of action, which is one day cleanup, the preparation time for the government would be 3 years. And we made like in 6 months. And if you're putting together all the volunteer hours, all the pro bono work and services provided by their partners, then for the government, the cost of this one day could be 22.5 million euros. And let's do it well, not let's do it well, but the movement at this time in Estonia made it in a few €100,000, which were given by their partners. So this is a big story about Estonia. But what happens later was that it started to spread around the world, this great idea, this great cleanup initiative from Estonia. And we still do have in YouTube really great video about that, which is talking about 5 points, how to make this kind of huge cleanup in your country in one day. And we had a lot of followers. But of course, each country are doing the activities as much as they can. And I can say that the world is so diverse and it's depending on so many different kinds of things, even about the political will, about the situation of the country itself, about the seasons, about how it have been habitated. Do we have huge cities? Do we have huge desert? Do we have mountains? Do we have coastline? So eventually each country who were following this idea made the cleanup in this way, what is serving them in really different time, in different season, in different way even, but they try to hold on idea to clean up the country in one day. So some countries are really huge, some are rather small. Estonia is definitely a really tiny country and it's easy to do here. But we saw that actually we don't have so much of impact in the world because the population was growing, consumption was growing. And also with that, all the contamination of the world was growing. And in some moment, we understood that we have to do something really drastically. And the drastic idea, which was even crazy then to follow the model to clean up one country in one day, we figured out a model that we have to clean up all world in one day. So in 2014, this crazy idea started. And in 2015, we started to build up the global network who wants to bring into the world first World Cleanup Day all the country into these cleanups. And we had also a number of countries what we had in our mind. So we wanted to engage 150 countries into their first World Cleanup Day. And for that, in 3 years, we built up the global network with a leader and with the teams. And just to sharing an experience that we have also, let's do it Japan, where we have our honorable leader Takao Asai, and he has a team and he's also preparing and conducting the World Cleanup Day. We have in the same format leaders and teams currently in 164 countries already who are working mainly on the World Cleanup Day, but also doing different kind of green projects. So when we, in 2018, ended up with building up the global network, we had our first World Cleanup Day, and it was in 2018. And we had really this kind of maybe naive thought that we can engage 5% of the Earth population. Of course, it's not doable if you imagine that 40% of the Earth population are living in China and India. And it means that we have to have very specific strategies for those countries, which we didn't had. But I think to start this kind of idea of global cooperation in this way, by having the global network, is even the bigger idea behind. Because if we want to solve the global problem, which is the waste itself, and and making a change in people's understandings, then we need also global approach. And what is a better way to do it? I think the global network is the best way how to do it. And this global network is carrying the same strategy, the same values, the same aim. Again, the purpose and the why. With this global network, we can do multiple different kind of activities today. But yes, then we had the first work cleanup day. Some of the countries made really huge cleanups. Some of the countries made rather small cleanups, and it's always depending on the situation of the country itself. The first cleanup day, in my opinion, was a huge success for many reasons. And as we had so strong network already from the first work cleanup day, then the network decided that we want to carry also the next upcoming work cleanup days in next years as well, because one cleanup is not enough, but we have to repeat it because countries are very diverse. And we can do it in the best way, and we have the best impact if we are doing it all together. That's why we have to carry the next work cleanup days. And there was a decision of restructuring the organization in this way. That the organization, Let's Do It World, as NGO, is led by the network itself. So it means that our highest authority is actually the network itself today. We are sharing the common values. And I think the hardest part of leading this kind of network, leading the countries, and leading the teams inside the countries, if I talk about the leaders, that we all have to be the change, and we have to carry the same things, because we have to be the change when we want to see. And all this work we can do only when we are persistent. I'm also saying what is the best in human power. And I can say that it's kind of individual autonomy when our countries can decide how they are doing the green projects, how much they can activate on the work cleanup day, with what kind of partners they are working with, how they build up the teams. This kind of individual autonomy means I can do it, competence, or I know how to do it, or I'm part, sense of belonging. Belonging is the biggest human power and the biggest motivator. And this actually can create a change, finally. Now you can see the Let's Do It World strategy, theory of change. So you can see that our vision is a clean and healthy waste-free world. And for that, we are actually working and influencing directly 7 Sustainable Development Goals from United Nations. We are, in order to have the clean and healthy and waste-free world, we have to work with 3 major stakeholders, groups. One is the people, communities, if you can see the outcome on the screen boxes. Definitely the people who are, for example, schools, universities. It's really important for us to work also with the schools today in order to raise awareness, in order to change the behavior, in order to give different kind of best practices and ideas how to live in households towards zero waste and so on, but also bring the people into the action to the work cleanup day, because then they will be hands on the activities and they can understand why it's important to make this shift happen. The next really huge pillar with whom we are working with is corporates and business sector organizations, because usually these organizations are part of different kind of products which are related to packaging systems, which are related to plastic systems, plastic materials, and so on. So we want to nudge organizations into better innovation by also engaging them also to the World Cleanup Day, by understanding what kind of products there are in the beaches, what kind of waste, and how much we do have this waste, and to nudge them into better innovation on different kind of packaging systems and also different kind of producement. And it's not just engagement of the business into the World Cleanup Day, but also we are providing today on the Let's Do It World, we are providing different kind of webinars or doing this kind of work together with business sector organizations by going with them into the cleanups and also giving trainings about different kind of materials, about segregation. And we can end up also with consultancy and also green offices or corporate social responsibility topics. And third really important layer here is government. Local municipalities, ministries, and this is like a huge stakeholder in order to make different kind of differences in legislation, but also helping to restructure the waste management systems or infrastructure around it with the legislations. So we are working a bit also with advocacy in local level mainly, and also have been taking part of different kind of work groups in local level with different kind of Let's Do It World countries. And again, we are inviting the government's sector to be part of the World Cleanup Day. And according to our surveys, we have participation around 76% of all our countries who are inviting governments to be part of the World Cleanup Day. But also, it is really important also to provide this kind of understandings about green economy, about, and definitely it does have influence, because I hope that the people also will be more aware to vote for their green organization or green parties or parties who does have this kind of green policies or green ideas for the future in order to lead the country. So we are engaging these three sectors, which is people, business, and governments. We educate all these sectors, and also we want to empower these sectors as much we actually can do it.